Yo, what up, though? What up, though? What up? Yep, Avery, what's up, Avery? How you doing today? You feeling better? Appreciate y'all being here, man. Like the video. Like the video on the way in. Avery's the first one in the chat. First one to like the stream and all that. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you. But yeah, y'all. Double tap the screen, okay? Double tap the screen and subscribe to the channel, y'all. Y'all know what's up, man. Y'all know what's up. Okay, y'all ready, man? Y'all ready? Let me mess around with this track here a little bit. Let me see. Yeah, we need some letters, though, of the alphabet. I think Bunny had a few of them for us, though. AKSM. I'll pick some ones. Welcome back, Bunny. I got you on the M. I saw it last minute. Last second, AKSM. Appreciate that, Bunny. Appreciate that. Okay, TUV. Okay. What up, your boy, Wolf King? What up? 2014, that was a good year. Yo, let's get the likes up, y'all. The likes are a little low, you know. What's up, Linda Theo? Or Thao? Is it Linda Tao? Linda Tao? What's up, though? Okay, y'all want to get the drums up here, man? Y'all ready to get these drums up in here? I think it's about time. I definitely think it's about time. Let's see before we do anything else. Okay. We're going to pick more like drums that kind of fit the vibe of what we're doing. And I usually don't use these kind of drum packs at all just because most of the music I make is hip-hop based. I make a lot of boom bap, lo-fi, hip-hop type shit, jazz music and shit like that. But this right here, we're going to need some EDM type tracks, some electronic music tracks, okay? Or drum packs, basically. Yep. Linda said keep going. Okay, I got you. Hey, appreciate that. Appreciate that, Wolf King. Appreciate the like. Sub to the channel, y'all. Don't forget to sub to the channel, all right? Hit that button if you see it. You say sub to. Thank you, man. Shout out to you, bro. Shout out to you. Okay, so we got AKSM TUV. That's one the drum packs that we're picking. So real quick, y'all, to help me out, we need a we need a number in the chat between 1 and 8. 1 and 8. The first number I see in the chat is what I'm picking. We need one number between 1 and 8. Any number between 1 and 8. Yo, Wolf King, you been here before, man? You checked out the music before? Wolf King got it first, 7, but Avery has said 7 as well. Great minds think alike, basically. All right. Wolf King ain't never been here. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you telling everybody to sub to me. I really appreciate that, man. I really, really do. I really appreciate that. Look, all three of y'all said 7. Look at that. Okay, 7 it is for that. We got V as well. So I'll pick this. Let's see. We need an A and a K. We got an S. Okay, Do another one between 1 and we'll do between 1 and 3. How about that? Yeah, you got a great mind, Avery. You know what I'm saying? You definitely got a great sense of humor. We can say that for sure. If you guys are here, man, that says a lot to me that you have a great mind. All y'all do. If you guys like what we do over here, you like the music and stuff like that, to me, you have a great mind, for sure. Okay, Wolf King got it again, man. Wolf King's fast, y'all. Y'all got to be quicker than him. Your boy quick. He's quick. Okay, he said 2. All right, that's what's up. So let's mark these off the list. We got the S, the V, and the A. We need a K, and an M, and a T, and a U. All right, give me a second, y'all. We're going to find these. Hold on, what was that? Okay. We got T right here. Let's see. All right, y'all. Once again, we need a number between 1 and 5. 1 and 5. Okay, I got you, Wolf King. I got you. We're gonna add some drums in here before you go. At least, hopefully, we're gonna try to. You still sick, Avery? You feel a little bit better than the other day, though? Okay, Wolf King got it again. Once again, 5. 5 it is. All right. Dang, everybody's sick. You said your son got strep throat? Good Lord. That's no good. You know, when I was a kid, I used to get that all the time, like every year. And then I had to get my, what's called the adenoids removed. I got that surgery when I was like 17. I was getting strep throat like for 5 years in a row, every single year. Crazy. Avery gonna tweak out. Don't tweak out. Okay, so now we got, let's see, we just need a few more. Give me a second, we're gonna pick them. We'll pick a hip hop kick, why not? Number between 1 and 2 in the chat, y'all. 1 and 2. 1 or 2. 1 or 2. First number I see. Yeah, Bunny said she used to get it as well. Man, look at your boy Wolf King, man. Okay, he said 1. 1 it is. Alright, so we got that. We need a U. All we need is a U pack now. We just need a pack that starts with the letter U, and that's it. Alright. Let's find that right quick. We'll pick that S. That's sub theory. That might sound good. Let's find this U though. Getting some Dayquil. I mean, that'll help. For sure, that'll help. Theraflu, actually, I think is pretty good. If they still have it, I don't know if they still make it, but Theraflu warming relief. I don't advertise for no company, but just from person to person, that's what, what helped me at least. Let's see. Ever said I don't get sick often? Yeah, me neither. I get sick once every few years, for real. All right, we got it in here. Let's keep looking. We're gonna find it, y'all. We're gonna find it. For sure, I know we got one. No, that's not part of that. Damn, Wolf King is sick too? Good Lord. Well, I hope you all feel better, for real. And Bunny, your son, I hope he feels better. It's a terrible thing to be sick, trust me. I know from experience. It's not fun. But hopefully you guys, enjoy the music. Hopefully it, boosts your mood up a little bit. Makes your day, adds to your day, you know what I mean? Gives you some good spiritual energy, Good vibes, good high frequency. Higher vibrational frequency, you know what I mean? Let's see. We gotta find that U-pack, y'all. We gotta find the U-pack. So look, just in case we don't have the letter U for drums. Oh no, we do. Okay, we got hella something. That's perfect. Give me a number. Once again, this is the last time I'm gonna need it. Between 1 and, good Lord, 1 and 1 and 50. Put any number in the chat between 1 and 50. Yeah, try to eat some soup, Wolf King. You know what I'm saying? When you get sick like that, you want to put something back in your stomach, you know? You want to put something right back in your stomach. At 1 a.m. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, y'all. I really am. I'm sorry to hear that. But any number between 1 and 50, y'all. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's see. 36. Okay, Avery got it first. 36. Cool. All right. We're ready, y'all. We're ready. We are ready. Okay. Let's test them out. All right. Okay. No, it's all good, Wolf King. You know what I'm saying? You listen, you picked majority of them, so at least you got that going. All right. Oh. Okay, let's check it out. Let's check out what we're doing here. Oh, now I don't want to play again. Oh no, here we go. What's up, Adri Torres? Okay, that could fit actually, that last one. Let me test them out though. All right, Wolf King, I appreciate you stopping by, man. Come and see me again sometime, all right? We go live pretty much every single day. I really appreciate your contribution. You know what I'm saying? Good job on picking them drum packs. You was hella fast, bro. Straight up. But have a good one. I hope you feel better, all right? Come back and check out the stream another time where you can watch the replay after we go live and see what we end up doing with all these drums you picked, all right? Have a good one, man. Let's see. Adriel Torres, you said do the roar. What you talking about, do the roar? What that mean? What that mean? What that mean? That was really interesting time. I don't know nothing about that. I don't know nothing about the do the roar. kids movie then. Do the roar. Alright, here we go. Ventress got jokes. He says really rare. He does multiple live streams with lights on. I had to cancel out that last stream, man. We was having some problems. Had to restart, you know what I'm saying? But no, the lights ain't on, dog. It's daytime. Man. Okay, you like R&B? That's what's up, man. I do too. Like I always tell y'all, man, I like all genres of music. Every kind of music you can think of. already sound stuck, man. Straight up. Let me just see what it sound like if I actually let's try it like this. Just curious. Naira, welcome back. Long time no see. How you been, Naira? Let's see what y'all talking about in the chat. Let's see. Let's see what y'all talking about, man. Oh boy. Okay, y'all just having conversations in the chat. That's all good. That's a funny question there, Avery. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm doing good, Naira. It's good to see you. Good to see you. Naira is basically like my little sister, you know what I mean? She's family. She's the auntie to my son, you know what I mean? Yep. That's my son's auntie right there. But you and her, you and Avery, Naira, you know, y'all might be around the same age for real. Let me see here. Some other type of instrument here. Let's see what we put up in here. Seascape. Let's see what that sounds like. I haven't heard this in a long time. We usually don't mess with these. what's up, everybody in the chat, man. Like the video for me if you haven't already, alright? Subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. Appreciate y'all being here. I'm locked in right now, man. Y'all liking the music, man? Y'all digging it? Okay, Bunny says she like hip hop. Okay, that's what's up. That's my favorite right there. Hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Okay, Naira likes hip hop. That's what's up. Okay, man. Okay. All right. Y'all having fun talking in the chat? Some of y'all just sitting way in the back of the chat, not typing nothing, man. Some of y'all just chilling back there. You know what I mean? Some of y'all chilling. Oh, chilling like a bunch of villains, you know? Like a bunch of villains sitting in the back of the chat. Oh, boy. Let me see something. Hold up. All right, y'all, look. I might come back with another music stream. I don't know. I'm kind of in a good, music creative mood. So I might come back and do some more music shortly. But for now, I got to go, man. Time to end the show. It's time to go. But look, I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what y'all talking about here at the end. Avery said, I listened to your advice, and I talked to my Papa Joe. His advice, don't go to college. Hey, I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do in life. Not everybody has to go to college. A lot of people are very, very successful without going to college, so trust me. You know what I mean? You can become very successful without going to college. You can have a great life without going to college. I'm not trying to tell nobody not to go to college, right? I'm not telling y'all to not go, but it just depends on what you're trying to do. Depends on what your goals are, what you're what you're trying to do in life, basically. Pretty much. But look, I'll be back later. I'll be back maybe within the next half hour or hour, something like that. I mean, the day is still early. It's what, the afternoon? Yeah, it's only like 12:30 here. Yeah, it's still early in the day. It's still very early in the day, But yeah. I see y'all in the chat, man. Have a great day, Naira, Bunny, Avery, everybody else sitting way in the back of chat. You know what I'm saying? Whatever time it is, wherever y'all may be. Like I always tell y'all, man, have a great morning, evening, noon, or night. All right? And Avery said, when's your game stream? It'll be later today. You know what I'm saying? If I don't come back with the music, I'll come back with the game. You know what I'm saying? Either we're going to do this or we're going to do that. One of those, all right? That's how it's going to do. That's how it's going to be. It's what we're going to do, all right? But, yeah, man, I appreciate y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, if I don't see y'all back here later, man, I hope y'all have a good one. All right? But until next time, y'all. Until next time. Peace.